What's up, YouTube? Sorry it's been so long since the last video. I've been on a 2-month road trip with my beautiful girlfriend through the Pacific Northwest. Right now we're just hanging out outside of Mount Rainier. In today's video, I'm going to do a complete truck walkthrough and complete camper walk around. Show you everything I've done to this truck to make it reliable, and some reasons why I chose this truck and why I chose this camper to build a awesome 4x4 camping rig. I've spent the last 6 months building out the inside of the camper and modifying this truck, and I've done a few videos on it so far. So anything in this video that you see that you want more information on, check my other videos, because I've got build videos that you might be interested in. This is going to be a long-winded video, but I'm just going to go over everything about the truck and my setup really briefly. So any more information, go check out my other videos or leave a comment about any questions you have. So with that, let's get into it. The first question I want to tackle is, why this truck? Why build a camping rig on a 30-year-old pickup truck? So first of all, this is a 1991 Ford F-150 four-wheel drive with a 5.8 liter V8 small block in the front. It's sitting on 33-inch tires, 15-inch wheels, and it's got a limited slip rear differential from the factory in the back. Getting down to it, why this truck in general? I think the most important step in getting out camping and what people call overlanding is use what you have. I strongly feel that you don't need to go out and buy the most expensive four-wheel drive pickup truck like a new Tacoma or 4Runner, whatever it may be, to go out camping. A lot of the Forest Service roads people drive on, and ones like this, you probably could do in a normal car and just have a tent. I don't think of myself per se as an overlander. I don't want to drive like an overlanding truck because this is my daily driver. I just want a clean, classic vehicle that gets me outside. And this does it for me. Another point on why this truck: drive what you think is cool. I really like these old Ford trucks, especially the brick noses. I think these early 90s trucks are really cool. And along with the Toyotas and stuff too, like those old, any square body truck really, I think is really awesome. So this hits the nail for me, and I really like it, and I think it's a cool truck to drive. And yeah, drive what you enjoy. I think that's awesome. Also, why this truck? I really like these 5.8 Windsor 351 motors, and that's what's inside this truck. I've had a van in the past with the same engine that's never given me any issues, so power plant wise, this thing is bulletproof in my opinion. And I've done some minimal modifications to the drivetrain to keep it reliable. Other than that, and the suspension, it's a pretty stock truck. I'll go over all that stuff in a couple minutes here. But before that, I want to talk about generally why this camper and why do I have the truck set up how I do. And it really comes down to me wanting a really classic camper. I'm inspired by like those old 70s and 60s pickup trucks with the Alaskan campers, just white sides with the rounded roof that pop up, or they're solid sided. I just think those really classic, clean, old school campers are really cool, and that's what I wanted to hit with this truck, kind of like a modern homage to those vintage style campers. Like I said before, this is my daily driver truck, so I didn't want to be that guy that's like the overland guy. And I think you know what I mean by that, with people having little baby shovels and little ladders propane tanks, max tracks all over the sides of their rigs. That stuff's cool if you like it, but for me, I don't really find that stuff practical. All my recovery gear can be tucked away inside the truck where no one can steal them, and it leaves the truck just less of a statement and more of just a truck of a guy that likes to go camping rather than an overlander where the truck almost is your whole personality. No offense, that might be a big statement, but that's just my opinion. I didn't want all that stuff hanging off the sides. And I like driving my truck into town. We're passing through big cities like Seattle and Portland, and I just don't want people to have the option to steal things off the side of my truck. I want everything tucked away, nice, neat, and hidden. So the camper that I decided to put on the back of this truck is the Ovrlnd camper. There's a few reasons why I decided to go with this camper rather than some of its competitors. This might be a little bit of a rant I'm about to go into, but I'll tell you the reasons why I chose this camper over its competitors like the Project M by 4-Wheel Campers and something like the Go Fast camper. I chose the Ovrlnd over the Go Fast camper because I'm not a fan of a wedge style pop-up, and I'm also not really a fan of the way the walls are tapered to contour with the body lines of a pickup truck on the camper itself. I feel that limits the amount of space you have to do some sort of build out inside the camper, which a lot of people might not want to build out their camper, which is cool and everything is modular. But for me, I knew I wanted to build like a standing height sink and cabinet setup, and the straight walls of an Ovrlnd camper allow you to do things like that. The Go Fast camper, I'm also not a fan of their bed setup, how it's a platform made of different panels that you have to take out to stand and have the bed set up at the same time. For me, I tend to get up early in the morning while my girlfriend stays and sleeps in bed. And the way that the Ovrlnd camper is designed, I have the space to stand and make breakfast or coffee, and she can still have the bed pulled out and be sleeping while I'm doing that. And it's still on a full-size truck. The Ovrlnd camper has a king-size bed, so that's a ton of room, and still have extra room to be standing while someone's sleeping. The price of a Project M was a big issue for me. Base model Project M is about the same as a quite modified version of a Ovrlnd camper. These are quite customizable, these campers, and I'll show you the options I have on mine. And they start adding up quick. This isn't a cheap camper at all, but it's way cheaper, or at least more affordable and justifiable to spend money on an Ovrlnd camper versus the options that you have with a Project M. I also really don't like the Project M. It comes with these big benches or shelves that are pre-built into the camper, and thinking about building a standing height cabinet with a sink, those are going to be really hard to work around. The Ovrlnd camper doesn't have anything like that. It just sits on your bed rails, and I have mine bolted straight through. You can build any sort of cabinetry you want, but on a Project M, it's tough to work around those big shelves that they have inside. Of course, you can put like low benches that you could sit on out of those shelves that they put in there, but anything standing would be tough. Also, I don't like their battery setup in the Project M. If you order a battery from 4-Wheel Camper, they're going to mount it right in the middle of those benches, and I just feel like that's a terrible placement. I'm sure you're able to move it, but you're going to have to do some finagling, and I just think that's honestly a dumb placement of that battery. Okay, rant over. I'll just do a front to back of this truck, and then I'll go over the camper and all the options that I have on it from Ovrlnd, and I'll give you a little tour of the inside of the camper. So coming up to the front, I have a steel bumper from Wild Horses 4x4. They specialize in all year Broncos and F-150s. Attached to that is a Harbor Freight Badlands 12,000 pound winch with the synthetic winch cable. Yes, I still run my roller fair lead with the synthetic. There's reasons why I do that, and I don't want to get into that in this video, but I will link a video in the description giving reasons why you can still run a roller with synthetic. Under the hood here's the Ford 5.8 351 Windsor. Everything's pretty stock here. I've had all my coolant and radiator hoses all redone. The only other modification I've really made to the inside here is I have a Desolate Motorsports, there it is, power steering pump conversion. And what that does is converts the Ford power steering pump to a GM style pump. And I had problems with my power steering pump stock. It was super noisy and giving me a lot, not issues, but it was louder than my engine. It was so loud. If I was driving through a parking lot, you just hear power steering like crazy. So this kit comes and converts your bracket to accept a Saginaw or GM style power steering pump, which are stronger, more powerful, and way quieter than the original Ford ones. I also have these accessory quick release terminals for my battery, so I can have things like my CB radio and my winch easily connected to my battery. And they're quick release too. If I ever need to pop them off, you just take them without a wrench, which is pretty nice. Running 15-inch steel wheels wrapped with 33 by 10.5 BF Goodrich KO2s. The front suspension is Desolate Motorsports 1.5 kit. So it includes extended radius arms, Bilstein 5100 shocks, new springs, and steel braided brake lines, and it also moves the mounting points for your shocks on their radius arms, and some drop brackets. It's about a 2-inch lift. I really love this suspension kit. It's opened my wheel travel up tremendously. I do kind of wish the kit was a little bit higher, or I may have to, I'm planning on cutting out my wheel well a little bit larger because I've had some issues with rubbing. Not on normal driving, it's mostly with when it's fully tucked, the suspension's fully tucked, it has rubbed at slow speeds. So I'll include a little picture of that. I think just opening up that wheel well a little bit more will give me more travel, because this thing has 11 inches up and down. In the rear here, I have just an Add-A-Leaf in the back, and then the Bilstein 5100 shocks. Coming over here, I have a CB radio from Right Channel Radios. And here's that CB radio. I know CBs are pretty antiquated, but I have it really for nostalgia purposes. My dad had a CB in the van I grew up camping in, and I love listening to the weather and talking to truckers on this thing. And having access to the weather when you're not in any sort of cell service or internet is really handy. I've used it many times.
10 miles an hour becoming light in the afternoon. Thursday night, clear. Lows in the mid-50s to lower 60s.
And when you're driving close to Canada, you can even pick up the weather in French. While I'm in the cab of the truck, I'll talk to you about my recovery gear. So I can fit all my recovery gear behind this seat. What I carry with me is extra belt, my winch gear, so like my controller and stuff is in this bag. I carry a Via Air portable air pump for my tires if I air down, jumper cables, 1-ton winch from Harbor Freight, a massive thing of beef jerky, and here I have a soft shackle, big giant tow strap that I also use as a tree saver if I need to winch off of it. And that is really it. I have a shovel underneath the seat and some basic survival gear. One thing you might notice is that I don't have Mack tracks or whatever they're called hanging off the side of my truck. I feel like that's not totally necessary in what I'm doing. And with a winch, good tires, and good driving, I feel like you can get yourself unstuck of most situations. A lot of those Mack tracks you see on people's rigs probably have never been used ever. So now I'll go over this Ovrlnd camper and the options that I got from the factory. The first big one is a downward opening side hatch. And the reason I went with a downward opening hatch was because I thought it was really cool how you could build a little table that folds down on the side of your truck. If it's ever too windy to cook on the tailgate, or you have a campfire here and you want a place to put your beers, this is freaking awesome for it. And if you come a little closer, I just used some door hinges that fold out and then just some paracord, and you can adjust the angle of the table with just tying a few knots, trucker's hitch, and some half hitches. And if you can imagine, when this is inside, closed up, this table acts, you can fold it out and retie it tighter, and it acts like a standing height workspace. And the hatch still allows you to grab things from the inside. It's really nice if someone is inside the truck and hand you things without having to crawl through the back. And then we'll come around back, I'll give you a tour of the inside. Another option I went with was the barn doors. You can get a standard hatch, like a normal shell hatch that opens up, but I really like these barn doors. It opens up the back of the truck into a huge opening and then allows you to stand on the tailgate like a patio. So these just open up, and then they latch in place so they don't swing in the wind. And then now you can stand on the tailgate without anything above your head. All right, come on in and I'll give you a tour of the inside. So starting on the floor, I just have pretty much raw plywood that I stained like a crazy burgundy color, and then I put water-based sealant on the floor so it's a little bit more water resistant. So I have a video of me building this out. If you want more information, go check out that video. But essentially this is a cabinet that I built with my awesome neighbor. It's got some pull-out drawers, just keep random stuff. We've been on the road for like about a month and a half, so things are kind of messy. Stove, little radio. This is where my battery is. It's just a AGM battery that's routed to a Harbor Freight inverter right here where we can charge our phones and whatever else. And on this side here, we have a sink, which is pretty cool, with this cutting board with little feet on it. And it fits right in, acts like a lid, and more surface area to work with. The sink's just on an electric pump, and it drains into this gray water bin. Keep our trash bags in here. This is a sailing flow electric 12-volt battery, or not battery, sorry, water pump, and it sucks out of this 5-gallon jug. Here is a U-shaped bench that has storage underneath, just super basic, just a piece of plywood. I've got a video on this one too. The width of these is the same width as these patio furniture cushions. So I didn't have to go searching for custom cushions. I can just go buy these from the store. The walls are Wilson Art brand laminate sheets that I got from Lowe's. You order it online. They come in huge rolls. You just roll it out, cut it with scissors, and then I glued and screwed into the walls. And there's 1-inch foam insulation beneath. I think it turned out really nice. There's this window, which we tend to keep covered a lot, but it's nice to have some options with airflow. I'll probably leave it open because it's kind of hot right now. And then I made this window cover, which I have a video on too, and my girlfriend's been embroidering it with fish. And then a window pass through here, which is nice for a variety of reasons. And up here is the bed. This is when it's pushed all the way forward. So you have a ton of room right now with a 8-foot camper, or with an 8-foot bed of the truck. The sleeping bed's up here, and all of our bedding is stored up top or down below. You pull it out. So pulling the bed out is now makes it a pretty much a queen or a king size bed, somewhere in that realm. And there's still a ton of room to move around while the bed is still pulled out. So, and this bed's huge. I'll go up there. We tend to sleep north-south like this, and there's a ton of room. You can fit like 3 people easily up here, and probably even more if you're sleeping this way, because my truck is about 6 feet wide. So you could sleep this way if you wanted to, or you know, it's pretty good. These cushions come from Ovrlnd. This is the one that I opted for from them, and they were pretty firm at first. They're like 2-inch firm foam mattress, and over time they've only softened up, so they might be uncomfortable at first, but I would recommend these. Yeah, we've been sleeping in like crazy. Oh yeah, above me here is a max fan vent that's wired up to my battery, house battery. This one's the exhaust only, which actually I like a lot. With these lower windows opened up, you can feel how much air it's pulling through the truck. It was really nice of Ovrlnd because I initially on my build sheet opted for a passive vent, and they didn't have them in stock at the time, so they upgraded me to the exhaust only for no extra charge, so that was pretty cool of them. And on some portions of this trip, we actually had 3 people total camping with us. So myself and my girlfriend would sleep up here, and her sister was sleeping in this little nook down below, and it's actually pretty comfortable. It's almost like a bunk bed. If you had kids or a dog that doesn't sleep with you up here, they could make a little platform down below. It'd be pretty sweet.
There could be some people hanging up in the loft.
So these windows have 2 different layers, or I guess 3. mesh layer that lets air come through, a clear vinyl layer to let light through if it's raining.
Which we've used a bunch on this trip.
Which, yeah, we had probably a week of rain. And then the cover that completely covers it up. This thing is very watertight. We've probably had a week of rain this trip so far, consistently, without a day of sunlight in between. And it hadn't leaked at all. This is a big storm.
It did not rain this hard.
No.
When Lily and I...
Only issue was we had a lot of condensation. When it's cold, this raw aluminum that the camper comes in is quite conducive to condensation. But once we had a dry, sunny day, we just let it all air out. And eventually I might cover this up with maybe the same thing as the siding or something different. I just haven't got there yet. That reminds me, I've got my fishing rod holders right there. This side of the truck is kind of like our junk section. We've got backpacking gear and this huge spare tire inside with us. Eventually I want to do something to take this spare tire out, maybe put it on the back with like a swing out rear bumper. But for now, it works pretty good as is. We have a little table that's outside right now, but it slides back here and we can eat inside, pull it out, has some folding legs. We eat inside when it's raining or has like really bad mosquitoes. But yeah, if we didn't have this backpacking gear with us, we'd have even more room here. And especially with this out, it would be really nice. We could probably have like our cooler right there or something. Sweet, so that's the inside of the camper. There's one more thing I want to show you, and that's the charging system, and that's really it for this tour. So I've included this in another video too, but real quick, this is our charging setup. I have a Zamp solar port that's plugged into my house battery that's inside of this cabinet, and then I plug in with this 20 feet of cable here to this portable Renogy solar panel, and it's 100 watts, and I really like it. It gets the job done. I can probably charge phones and run the fan for like 2 or 3 days without it getting too low before I'm really worrying about charging. I think in the future I will do some passive solar on the roof just to take advantage of the sun while we're driving, but this works really well for the trip we're on right now. So that's really it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a comment if you have any questions or have any suggestions, any ideas. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'm stoked to share all this with you guys and hope to see you out there. Peace.